So I need to take some this advice I'm about to give in this video apparently because this is my sixth take for a video on perfectionism because I keep ripping my previous ones apart to the point where I'm just unwilling to post them, which are probably fine, but whatever. Progress, not perfection, right? Uh, so perfectionism's an interesting trait to me because it has good qualities, but it also has bad qualities to it as well. So it's admirable that you can want to set the bar high in your life and your aspirations, but people fail to realize the consequences of that because more often than not, people don't hit those real or those unrealistic goals, and what happens after that is there goes the self confidence, there goes the esteem, and then all of a sudden, depression and anxiety kick the door in. And then because you're depressed and anxious, you aren't reaching your goals again, which just increases those feelings. So all of a sudden, perfectionism can lead you into a never-ending loop of misery. And I don't think people quite understand that when they should, because it's so prevalent in our society, especially right now, where eyes are on you all the time. Everybody wants to be perfect. I read an article today about how over the last 30 years, professionals have identified the trait of perfectionism in more people increasingly. And I guess they attribute that to academic and professional competition. But I would also be, I think it's safe to say that social media has a hand in that too, because social media has a hand in everything terrible in this world. That's another video. But you know, I suffer from perfectionism to an extent in my life as well. It started, the first thing I can remember about it was whenever I was trying to lose weight when I was younger and I was dieting. If I was on a diet and I messed up once during the day, I just threw the whole diet out. I was done. I just gave up because, well, if I didn't do it perfectly, then there's no use in doing it at all. Meanwhile, if I would have just chalked it up as a loss and been like, okay, well, what did I do that caused that? And look at all this good that I did too. I probably could have lost weight years before I ended up actually doing it. But instead, I had this unrealistic expectation that I was going to stick to this diet regimen that, like even The Rock probably couldn't stick to. And, that failing at that hurt my confidence, hurt my esteem. And then it led me down a dark path. Even with my addiction, whenever I was clean before and I would have like cravings, I had this set idea for how I should be thinking in my head, which pretty much included, I shouldn't be thinking about drugs whatsoever. So I would have like cravings for them, which is totally normal in the recovery process, by the way. If you're not familiar, like that's normal. It's expected actually. But I thought that I was different, so if I had those, I considered that as failing. And then I started to beat myself up and wonder what I was doing wrong. Am I just broken? What's going on? And then that negative self-talk ended up leading me to a relapse. So, and like another real world example would be in, like The Office. So like if you're like doing like a report or writing a paper for your boss, and you're so dead set on getting it exactly perfect, which is never going to happen, you could possibly miss your deadline just because of something that stupid. Like you could talk yourself into a frenzy over this and end up costing yourself your job instead of just turning it in. Like that's insanity. But it happens, and it happens all the time, and it happens to me all the time too. So what I've had to do to fight this is I still set the bar pretty high because I still expect a lot out of myself, but I instead try to strive to be as successful as I can. So pretty much I just do everything in my power to get to that goal, and I work as hard as I can at it, don't get me wrong. But if I come up short, first I'll analyze why I came up short and if I can change and how I can change, the course of that action to hit that goal the next time. But I also recognize and accept and appreciate the good that I did in that journey as well. And by doing that, you build your self-confidence up. Your opinion of yourself increases. And just by doing that, you make it more likely that you're gonna succeed at things. Just the way it's, there's so much evidence stating that, like, the higher you think of yourself, the more likely you are to succeed. It's just a fact. There's so much psychology that goes into it. Like, if I had 10 videos, I don't think that I could talk about everything and hit everything, but it's just, it's important to recognize, like, the traits of being a perfectionist, because if it can break you if you don't. Like, if you just have this mindset but you're not aware of it, even, you could be doing yourself such a disservice that, and making yourself miserable when you don't have to be. So, I just, like, urge you to be objective, and step back and really look at some of the things that bother you in life the most, and maybe consider, like, is trying to be perfect the cause of this? Like, are my problems, or the root of them, trying to make everything perfect and control everything? Because there's a lot of control issues involved in being a perfectionist too. And I already talked about, control issues in the previous video, but it's, if you, like, really think about it, it's just crazy to think, as imperfect people in an imperfect world, that we can do anything totally perfect. Like, why would that be the exception of a staple of our universe? Nothing's perfect in it. So I just urge you guys to work on giving yourself a pat on the back. That's what really started the ball rolling for me on this, is, instead of just, like, because, like, my mindset for things, like, if I did everything right except one thing, I would just be like, yeah, well, obviously I did those right. Like, I expect myself to get those right. If I got those wrong, I'd be an idiot. So, like, I wouldn't even give myself any credit for the stuff I did right, and instead only focus on the negative and the failure that occurred. So I had to start, even if it was something easy that, like, I know I should have probably been able to do, I still gave myself credit for doing it. I still did it. That's still an accomplishment. I completed something. That's a positive action. That's a 1 foot forward. That's getting better, or even 1%. So acknowledge the things you do that are good, no matter how small or big they are. And don't consider one failure at the end of your life. Just look at it as an opportunity to learn and to work on something new. And then you can really grow by doing that too. It's, that's just the way things work. You can grow from your failures, but, trying to be perfect, you're going to fail all the time. So, just recognize how good you're doing, because more of you than not are doing great, but you hold yourself to these standards that are super unrealistic, and because of that, you beat yourselves up and are self-deprecating. So I challenge you to just give yourself a pat on the back today. Allow yourself to appreciate and, enjoy some of the things that you've accomplished in your life, because you deserve it. You earned it. And that's no small feat, because plenty of people are unwilling to put one foot in front of the other and strive towards something. But you didn't. So acknowledge that. Cut yourself a break today. I think this is the video I'm going to post, guys. 6 times the charm. So, thanks.